Hey everyone, welcome to Cooper Real Estate Team's YouTube channel. Today I have a really special guest here, Chris Hill with Northwest Capital Mortgage. I'm so excited to have him here to chat with you guys all about home mortgages. So thanks so much for coming.
Thanks, Alicia.
Chris, so give me a little background on your experience in the mortgage industry.
Oh, great. So I've been in the mortgage industry for about 15 years.
Okay.
Done thousands of loans, helped hundreds of first-time home buyers. It's really been a great treat to be in the industry.
So fun fact too, my mom and I work together on a team.
Mm-hmm.
Your son also works with you, correct?
Yeah, that's true. He started working with me about 3 years ago, and it's just fun to work with my son all the time. I also have to say that extra jolt of energy has been really powerful.
Yes, definitely, and that's kind of the same camaraderie that my mom and I experience, and it's really, really beneficial for clients.
Great time.
Yeah. So Chris, I work with a lot of first-time home buyers, as does my mom, and I think it would be very beneficial for the public that's on our channel to hear a little bit of advice and a few tips and tricks in regards to first-time home buying from an expert like you. So what are some tips?
Okay, so well, the first thing I want to say is that it doesn't take a lot of money to buy a home as far as saving up money. Money's good, it's great, the more you have the better with respect to buying a home. But I've had clients that have bought a home with virtually no money in the bank. There's lots of programs out there that are 0 down or maybe 3% down. So don't think that you have to have 20% down to buy a home. That's totally a myth at this point. That said, I do want to make it clear that saving money is a really good thing for a number of reasons. The big thing is it gives you more options.
Right.
Okay, so we can do things where it's a 0 down and we get the seller to pay all the closing costs, that kind of thing. But if you have enough money for your own closing costs, then you don't have to ask the seller to do that. You might be more likely to win the offer.
Right, exactly.
You know, another thing that you really can do is make sure that you're being wise about making all your payments. And a lot of people get really into, hey, we have to pay all of our debt down. And sometimes that's a good thing to do. But more importantly is to make sure you're making your minimum payment every month. Okay, so if you have extra money, that's good. Put it in the bank, put it in your savings account. And then if you have a rainy day next month, maybe somebody can't work for a week or something, you've got money in that account that you can make all your payments with. Because when you're trying to buy a home, one of the worst things that you can do is not make all of your payments on a regular basis. Another key thing is you don't want to guess on how to improve your credit. Okay? A lot of people will go on the internet and they'll just type in how to improve my credit. And the bad thing about the internet is you don't have to know what you're talking about to put something on the internet. So there's a lot of things out there that are just plain garbage. I mean, people are just throwing stuff out there, and if you get into one of those sites and they tell you to do something that may or may not improve your credit and you go down the wrong path. I mean, I run into people all the time that have been saying, hey, I'm working on my credit, I did this, this, and this. And inside I'm just cringing because I know that they've either been wasting their time and effort, or even worse, sometimes they're actually hurting their credit and they don't realize it.
Right. Oh. I know a lot of you might be afraid to even take that leap of faith to see if it's even a possibility to buy a home now, but I think this next tip from Chris is going to be very helpful just to get you to make that first step.
Okay. I will say that one of the biggest surprises that I have in my business for other people is when I get clients that call me and say, hey, we're thinking about buying a home maybe a year or two from now, and we just want to see, what we need to do to get ready to buy a home. And they come in and we pull their credit and we maybe give them a tip or two to get their score up just a little bit, and we look at their situation and they can actually buy a home like in 30 days.
Wow.
I mean, it's amazing. So I guess the biggest thing I would say is don't think that you can't buy a home, because I'll bet you multiple times a month, probably 2 or 3 times a month, I have a meeting with someone who is sure they can't buy a home right away, and we basically tell them, hey, guess what? You can buy a home in 30 days.
That's so great. So I know a hot topic of conversation is always about the real estate market and mortgage rates, so on and so forth. So I would love for you to give us a little bit of background on mortgage rates. What's going on? What do you see happening in the future?
That's great. Thanks, Alicia. Okay, so let me start with going through kind of what's been going on, okay? So I would say it's important to know that for the last, let's say, 2 to 3 years, basically rates have been moving up, okay? And it hasn't, I mean, rates are still really good, okay? But they've been moving up from all-time lows of a few years ago.
Okay.
So if I were to to talk about where rates were, let's say a year ago. Rates were down in the very low fours. We were probably looking about rates between 4 and 4.25. Okay. Now rates are probably around 4.5, so they've gone up, 3/8 to maybe half a point. The thing that's important here is that they actually went a little higher earlier in the year, last year, and about October they hit a peak of around 4.75, and then they've come down a little bit. So now actually is a really good time. If you look back at the last year, we've got some of the best rates that we've had in probably 8 or 9 months since last April. Okay,
good.
so it's actually a pretty good time. And I think it's a short window.
Okay.
Because I really do think that rates are going to continue with their long-term trend of moving up.
Right.
And we've just kind of gotten a little break in it right
Okay,
now.
yeah.
Okay. Long-term, or let's say over the next year, I think rates are probably going to go up into the 5 to 5.25 range.
Okay.
Many experts are saying 5 to 5.5. I just don't see it getting up to 5.5 unless the whole maybe Chinese thing going on where we're doing trade wars and stuff drives up the price of goods. Because if you get higher inflation, you often get higher interest rates.
Okay.
But there's really nothing, I think, pressuring it above about 5 to 5.25
Okay.
over the next year. But that's significant because I did an analysis actually just the other day. And so they're projecting home prices in our area to go up 4 to 5% this next year is what I read.
Okay.
Okay, now I should ask you that question. Okay, but I'm reading 4 to 5%. And they're projecting interest rates to go up between 0.5 to 0.75%. So if I just take 4.5% appreciation and a 0.5% increase in an interest rate, the same house you could buy now and have a $1,600 payment on, you would have a payment in a year on that same house, if those two things happen, of $1,775 in a year.
Okay.
So, I mean, that's a big difference, $1,600 to $1,775. So I think the key message here is, if you are thinking about buying a home, get in and see if you can buy one.
Yeah.
Because if you can do it now, you're going to save yourself a bunch of money versus if you wait a year.
Right.
So I do want to make a key point though. So let's say you can't buy a home right this minute, okay, and the rates do move up into that 5 and even 5.5% range. Those are historically really low rates. I bought my first house, the interest rate was over 10%.
Yeah, I know my parents, it was around 12, so
Okay,
thank
yeah.
goodness we're at the 5% range.
Oh yeah, so I mean, it is really a great time to do it right now. So
Well, thank you so much, Chris. You have just filled us with a wealth of knowledge in regards to everything with mortgage loans. So thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it.
it's been a real pleasure. Thank you so much, Alicia.
My pleasure.